A giant rock python had coiled itself around a young rhino, its muscular body tightening with terrifying precision. The young rhino thrashed, its legs kicking uselessly as its tiny squeals were choked off by the python's relentless grip. Dust kicked up in the sunlit clearing from the desperate struggle, a silent testament to a life fading fast. Death was only seconds away. The python, a masterpiece of lethal evolution, adjusted its grip, its scales shimmering like dark jewels in the African sun. Each movement was calculated, designed for one purpose: to extinguish the small flame of life caught within its coils. There was no malice in the act, only the cold, hard finality of the food chain in motion. Far from the chaos, in the dappled shade of an acacia tree, a massive silverback gorilla sat watching, its dark, intelligent eyes fixed on the life-or-death battle. Its expression was unreadable, a stoic observer to the brutal law of the jungle. It watched as the last, desperate twitches of the young rhino began to slow. Then the gorilla stood up, a mountain of muscle and dark fur. Its next action would leave the ranger watching from afar completely stunned. To understand the weight of the gorilla's decision, we have to go back just a few moments to a peaceful scene that was about to be shattered forever. Every tragedy begins with a moment of calm, a fragile peace easily taken for granted. Only an hour earlier, the acacia woodland was a portrait of serenity. The air was warm and still, carrying the sweet, earthy scent of red oak grass and the distant hum of insects. Sunlight filtered through the feathery leaves of the acacia trees, painting shifting patterns on the ground below. It was in this tranquil setting that a young rhino, full of the clumsy curiosity of youth, wandered a short distance from its mother. The mother rhino lay resting in a patch of shade, her massive form rising and falling with deep, rhythmic breaths, confident in the safety of their ancestral lands. The young rhino, for its part, was happily engrossed in nibbling the tender new shoots of grass, its small ears twitching at the sound of every rustling leaf. High above, nestled in the strong branches of a broad acacia, a troop of gorillas went about their day. Youngsters tumbled and played, their soft barks of excitement echoing gently through the trees. The females foraged for leaves and stems, their movements methodical and calm. Presiding over them all was the magnificent silverback. He was the undisputed leader, a colossal figure whose calm demeanor belied the immense power coiled in his muscles. His duty was to protect his family, to watch for threats from leopards or rival troops. He sat slightly apart, his gaze sweeping across his domain, a silent, watchful monarch. Hidden by a thicket of bushes a few hundred yards away, Ranger Ethan adjusted the focus on his binoculars. For weeks, he had been studying this specific gorilla troop, documenting their social interactions as part of a long-term behavioral study. He marveled at their complexity, the way they communicated with soft grunts and gestures, the gentle manner the mothers cared for their infants, and the quiet authority of the silverback. Science taught him that gorillas, for all their strength, are primarily peaceful herbivores. They are governed by routine and a social structure that prioritizes harmony. They maintain a respectful distance from other large animals, avoiding conflict whenever possible. An encounter with a rhino, let alone a confrontation, was almost unheard of. Their worlds were parallel, rarely intersecting. But the laws of nature are complex and often cruel. From the tall grass at the edge of the clearing, something else was watching the young rhino. It moved without a sound, a ripple of patterned muscle flowing over the earth. An African rock python, more than 15 feet of predatory perfection, slid from its cover. It wasn't driven by malice, but by the ancient, undeniable instinct to hunt. Its tongue flickered, tasting the air, its unblinking eyes fixed on the small, unsuspecting meal. The peaceful tableau was a fragile illusion, about to be broken by the silent, deadly advance of the predator. Have you ever witnessed a moment in nature that felt perfectly peaceful? Share your memory in the comments below. From his hidden vantage point, Ethan could only watch. He knew the unwritten rule of the wild, but what was about to happen would test every instinct he had. When faced with another suffering, who turns away and who steps forward? The python's strike was a blur of motion. One moment, the young rhino was peacefully grazing. The next, it was ensnared in the snake's deadly embrace. There was no time for a cry of alarm to its mother. The predator was terrifyingly efficient, its first coil wrapping around the small body, followed instantly by another and another. The young rhino's surprised bleat was immediately cut short, replaced by the sickening sound of its own frantic, muffled struggle against an unyielding force. The sudden violence ripped through the clearing's tranquility. The commotion caught the attention of the gorilla troop. Several of the females and younger males paused their foraging, looking up from the leaves they were eating. They watched the desperate struggle for a few seconds, their dark eyes holding a flicker of curiosity, but nothing more. This was not their fight. The drama unfolding below was just another harsh reality of life in the bush. Within moments, they dismissed it, turning back to their own needs, to eating, to playing, to living. This was the brutal indifference of nature, a world where survival is a personal, not a communal, affair. From his position, Ranger Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline. He lifted his binoculars, his hands trembling slightly as he focused on the horrific scene. The image was sharp and devastating. The young rhino's eyes wide with terror, its body being systematically crushed. His heart pounded in his chest. His training screamed at him to remain an observer, to document, not to interfere. "I have a situation." He spoke quietly but urgently into his radio, reporting his coordinates. Rock python attack on a young rhino, requesting immediate veterinary support. But he knew the vet unit was stationed over an hour away. Help would come too late. He was utterly alone, a helpless witness to a death sentence being carried out. But one individual had not turned away. The silverback gorilla had watched the entire event unfold, and unlike his troop, he did not resume his meal. He climbed down from the acacia tree, his massive feet landing on the soft earth with a quiet thud. His movements were slow, deliberate, each step filled with a gravitas that commanded attention. He was no longer a passive observer. He began to walk towards the python, his head low, his eyes locked on the predator. The snake, sensing the immense presence approaching, reacted instantly. It lifted its head, its body still tightening around its victim, and let out a long, loud hiss, a clear warning. Its fangs, glistening with venom, were now poised inches from the young rhino's terrified face. The silverback did not stop. He let out a low, guttural growl that seemed to vibrate through the very ground, a sound of deep, resonant warning. If you were in Ethan's position, what would be going through your mind? The standoff was set. A silent predator, a powerful protector, and a life hanging in the balance. But no one, not even Ethan, could predict the raw power that was about to be unleashed. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. The atmosphere in the clearing crackled with an almost electric tension. The silverback's warning growl faded, replaced by an even more intimidating display. His entire posture shifted. He rose up from all fours, standing bipedally to his full, towering height, a breathtaking spectacle of dominance and raw power. Sucking in a great breath, he pounded his cupped hands against his chest. The sound wasn't a hollow thud. It was a series of deep, resonant explosions, boom, 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 a thunderous declaration of intent that echoed across the woodland. Before the last echo faded, he charged. He didn't hesitate. Closing the distance in two massive strides, he reached the struggling pair. With astonishing speed for an animal his size, he lunged and seized the python directly behind its head, his huge, leathery hands clamping down with incredible force. He roared, a sound of pure fury and effort, and began to pull, attempting to uncoil the serpent from its victim. The scene devolved into a primal battle of two vastly different kinds of strength. The gorilla possessed explosive, muscular power, while the python had the relentless, unyielding force of constriction. The snake writhed violently, its thick body thrashing, trying to dislodge the gorilla's grip, while simultaneously trying to finish its kill. For a terrifying moment, it seemed the gorilla was losing. The python's powerful body was a chaotic whirlwind, and its sheer strength was immense. Ethan watched, his breath caught in his throat, as the silverback was forced to brace himself, straining every sinew against the serpent's might. Seeing the silverback struggle and the young rhino now completely limp, Ethan knew he had to act. The window of opportunity was closing. His rifle was in his hands, but a direct shot was impossible. Firing at the python could easily hit the gorilla or the rhino calf it was wrapped around. There was only one option, making a split-second decision that went against every protocol. He shouldered the rifle, aimed high above the trees, and fired. The crack of the gunshot was alien and deafening in the natural soundscape. It shattered the concentration of the fight. The python, shocked by the explosive noise, reacted on pure instinct. Its survival impulse overrode its hunting drive. In a single, convulsive movement, it released its hold on both the young rhino and the gorilla. The coils loosened and fell away. Before the silverback could react, the snake had slithered away, a streak of patterned scales vanishing into the safety of the dense undergrowth. Silence descended upon the clearing, thick and heavy. The gorilla stood panting, his chest heaving, watching the spot where the snake had disappeared. Ethan slowly lowered his rifle, his heart still hammering against his ribs. Do you think Ethan made the right choice by firing the warning shot? The danger had passed, but the most incredible part of this story was yet to come. What the gorilla did next revealed something profound about the nature of empathy itself. Sometimes the most powerful communication happens without a single word. With the immediate threat gone, Ethan cautiously emerged from his cover, moving slowly so as not to alarm the silverback. He approached the small, crumpled form of the young rhino lying motionless on the grass. He knelt, his trained hands gently probing the small creature's ribcage. He could feel the distinct, unnatural give of broken bones. Broken ribs, but it's breathing. He whispered in his radio, a wave of relief washing over him. I need that vet evac now. The subject is alive, but in critical condition. Throughout this, the silverback did not flee. He didn't retreat into the forest or display any aggression towards the approaching human. Instead, he stood a few yards away, a silent, watchful sentinel. His panting subsided and his posture softened. He was no longer a warrior. He was a guardian. His presence was calm, steady, and inexplicably protective. Then, as Ethan watched in utter disbelief, the most astonishing event of the day occurred. The massive gorilla took a slow step forward. He reached out a hand capable of snapping branches like twigs, and gently, so gently, touched the young rhino's back with his knuckles. It was not a gesture of curiosity or dominance. It was a touch of profound tenderness, a silent, comforting reassurance to the small, injured creature. The arrival of the veterinary team's vehicle finally broke the spell. The silverback retreated to a respectful distance, watching as the team worked quickly, stabilizing the young rhino and carefully moving it onto a stretcher. It was transported to the rehabilitation center, where it received expert care. Against all odds, it survived its ordeal and, after months of recovery, was eventually strong enough to be reintroduced to the wild. The story of Ethan's encounter, and especially of the gorilla's actions, spread like wildfire through the conservation community. It became a topic of intense debate and wonder at conferences and around campfires. What had motivated the silverback? Was it simply a territorial act, defending its area from a large predator? Or had Ethan witnessed something far more profound? Could it have been a genuine act of interspecies altruism, a moment of empathy so powerful it transcended the boundaries of species? This single moment reminds us that the animal kingdom is far more complex and emotionally rich than we often assume. It challenges our perceptions and invites us to look at nature with more humility and awe, a beautiful reminder that compassion can bridge the gap between any two living beings. What do you think motivated the gorilla? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. And for more incredible stories from the wild that will change the way you see the world, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. We'll see you in the next video.